Good evening and welcome again to Crimewatch UK. Tonight we're hoping you can help police with 16 cases they're investigating across the country. As usual, the detectives behind us are manning the phones, waiting to take your call if you see anything you recognise in the next 45 minutes. The number, as usual, direct to the studio here, is 01 811 8055.
This month's reconstructions, gunfire on a Manchester street as failed robbers take out their frustration, and a courageous motorist who set off in pursuit. The murder of a harmless tramp, how someone set on Michael Fahy in what seems to be an unprovoked and motiveless attack. And the booking office robber, the highly agitated man who's been raiding railway stations, and the booking office clerk who wrestled a loaded gun away from him.
The first of our reconstructions tonight is an attempted robbery on a security van in the Manchester area 4 weeks ago. One of the security guards was shot at and injured, even when it was already quite clear to the gang that their robbery had failed. In the film that follows, we've left out certain details for security reasons, and our reconstruction begins on the outskirts of Manchester. At about 11:15 on the morning of Saturday, March the 18th, the owner of this Ford Sierra 4x4 stopped at a car wash on Brandlholme Road in Tottington in the Bury area. He left the keys in the ignition while he went to buy a token to put in the machine. In the few moments that took, his car was stolen. A few miles away, next to the Hustler Snooker Club in Droylsden, tucked away behind a wooden fence, is a public car park. Sometime between 2 and 3 o'clock that same afternoon, a transit van, which had been parked there most of the day, disappeared. It's 6:15, a couple of hours before closing time at the Tesco Superstore in Walkden. After 4 o'clock every Saturday, there's a discount on perishable goods here, so the store was packed with people as usual. Opposite the store is a pond known locally as the Lodge. At 10 to 6, a Securicorps van pulled up at a side entrance to collect the takings. One of the managers let the security guard in to begin his collection. The whole operation took just over 10 minutes. The Lodge Pond is popular with anglers, so a passing police patrol weren't unduly concerned seeing a man in waterproof clothing standing on the other side of the road. The manager remembers noticing him too.
Out of the van! Out of the van now! Come on!
A motorist saw the blue transit drive out of Tesco's car park.
Out of the van! Come on! Come on!
The van's security arrangements made it impossible for the gang to break into it. Realising he was watching a robbery, the motorist sounded his horn to attract attention, then cautiously drove after the blue transit.
Quick, phone the police, tell them there's been a robbery at Tesco's.
The next day, the Sierra was found abandoned near some allotments behind Harcourt Street, less than a mile from the Tesco store. Well, Detective Chief Inspector Jeff Knupfer is leading the investigation. Now, one of those guards was actually injured. Is he getting better now?
That's correct. He is recovering from his injuries, but Security Corps have offered a reward of £10,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the offenders.
Right. Apart from the Tesco's manager and the motorist who gave chase there, are there any other witnesses?
Yes, indeed. There were a number of witnesses who saw the robbery take place, but we would like to hear from anyone else who either witnessed the actual robbery or saw the transit van parked in Tesco's car park immediately beforehand.
What about the Sierra 4x4?
Yes, both vehicles were stolen earlier the same day, and we would like to hear from anyone who actually witnessed the thefts of the vehicles or saw them in between the theft and the robbery taking place later that afternoon.
So we're talking about sightings of the Ford Sierra and the transit van on Saturday the 18th of March, and that day only, because the cars are back with their rightful owners now.
That's correct, yes.
Right. Now, the robbers left behind various articles which could be important clues.
Indeed, yes. In addition to this blank training hand grenade, they left a number of items of fishing tackle behind. One was this fishing stool, folding stool, and another was this rod case, fishing rod case, which you can see has a badge, a Sex Pistols badge on it. We would be delighted to hear from anyone who knows the origin of this bag or indeed can give us any information about it.
The Sex Pistols badge there dates it a little. It must be a few years old by now.
It's quite possible, but the bag looks as if it has had little use.
Right, so somebody might recognise that as valuable lost stolen property.
That's right.
One more appeal to make you have on events leading up to the robbery, the attack.
Yes, in the 3 weeks preceding the robbery, a witness saw two men drive into the area in a red Ford Escort. The two men were again dressed as fishermen, and they were seen to observe the collection of cash by Security Corps, and as soon as the collection had been completed, they were seen to leave the area.
And what do they look like?
Yes, one is over 6 feet tall and has black or dark hair with a heavy moustache. The second one is 5 feet 10 tall. He's 25 to 30 years of age and has mousy hair with a thinner moustache. The witness noted that both were dressed as fishermen, but she thought they were a bit too well dressed for fishermen. In other words, that she didn't think they were genuine fishermen.
Right, well, it sounds as though those could be the man who were planning to do the attack.
It's quite possible, yes.
Well, if you know anything that might help find this gang, phone us here in the studio, please, on 01811 8055, or you can phone the incident room direct on 061 855 5310. That's 061, the code for Manchester, 855 5310.
In fact, there's been good progress since last month's Crimewatch, with 4 arrests so far and 1 man charged with murder. There was a tremendous response on the attack on a courting couple in Tunbridge Wells. A peeping Tom, who'd been pestering couples for months, had turned from a nuisance into an armed rapist. 320 viewers rang, some reporting other incidents involving prowlers, and some giving names of suspects. In particular, police would like to speak to one woman who rang the studio on the night of the last programme. She was very distressed, but she gave a name. Now, if that was you, will you please ring us now? Please do. 01811 8055. There are new leads too on the smash and grab raid at a jeweller's in Middlesbrough. Despite attempts to stop them, the gang escaped with £26,000 worth of rings. Here too, detectives are checking individual suspects suggested by Crimewatch viewers. And police say they're delighted with help they've had in hunting the murderer of Lionel Webb. Lionel, an estate agent, was shot dead in his office in North London in a crime that might have links with drug dealing. Several viewers rang anonymously with information on the drugs, and most of those have kept in contact with the police. As a result, Detective Inspector Bill Cutts, who's in charge of the investigation, says he now has 2 vital pieces of new information. He's also found more people who were in the area at the time of the killing, including a young girl who'd been passing the office. But he'd like a caller who's rung twice to call again. It's the viewer who had information about a couple who were coming out of Lionel's office at 5:45 on the night of the murder.
Well, also in last month's programme, we showed the picture of a man wanted in connection with a series of deceptions which have taken place all around the country over the past 4 years. A viewer watching the programme in Bridlington thought she recognised the photo as the man she'd seen in the local fish and chip shop earlier that same day. She contacted her local police, and as a result, a man was arrested at that chip shop the next day. He's now remanded in custody, charged with 5 cases of deception.
We're now to photo call, a portrait gallery of people police would like to speak to, some of them caught in the act by security cameras. See if there's anyone that you recognise tonight. To introduce them, here's Superintendent David Hatcher.
First, a robber who was caught on a security video as he held up a building society in Southampton on the 17th of March. He handed a plastic bag over the counter, pulled out a knife, threatened the cashier with it and demanded money. He's described as 6 foot tall, between 25 and 30 years old, with dark hair and a moustache. He was wearing a distinctive sweatshirt with "Life" printed on the chest. A reward is being offered, so if that face is familiar to you, please call us. Next, we'd like your help in tracing this man, Jack Chandler. We believe he may have information about a series of thefts and deceptions totalling £150,000 across the south of England. You may know Jack Chandler as Paul Stephen York, or Paul Hardy, Richard Terence Hardy, Paul Scott, or David Allen Beck. That last name may well have been thought up because of a particular liking for Beck's beer. Indeed, he's described as having a large beer gut, as well as being 54 years old, about 5 foot 8 inches tall, with grey hair. He's well spoken and has expensive tasting clothes. If you can help, please get in touch. Colleagues at Finchley in North London need your help in identifying this man. He was captured on security film as he carried out a robbery at the TSB Bank in Watling Avenue, Burntoke, in Edgware on the 28th of March. He produced a gun from inside a rolled-up newspaper. He then ordered the cashier to fill a plastic bag with money and escaped with £1,600. He's in his mid to late 20s, tall, with mousy brown hair which is receding at the temples. The cashier remembers that he had tattoos on the back and knuckles of his left hand. Ring us if you recognise him. And we'd like to know the whereabouts of this man, Donald McKnight. Officers from West Yorkshire want to speak to him about a series of thefts across the north of England in which women are befriended in public houses and their cash and jewellery stolen. McKnight is 52 years old, tanned with dark brown hair and a beard. He has a Yorkshire accent and is always smartly dressed. Call us if you can help with this or any of our other photo call faces.
And the number here in the studio is 01811 8055. 01811 8055.
Now to Bristol and what may have been the most callous form of crime, a murder for the hell of it. A man who was a harmless, hopeless alcoholic was hit on the head for no known motive. Police fear the killer or killers might strike again. It happened on the night before January's Crimewatch, Wednesday, January the 11th. Were you in Bristol then? Our reconstruction begins in the city centre, near the Broadmead shopping area.
Radio Bristol News.
It's 9 o'clock. This is Norman Rickard. The Civil Aviation Authority has ordered new safety checks following the M1 plane disaster on Sunday night.
The Stokes Croft roundabout is a popular meeting place for the city's homeless. They call it the Magic Roundabout. One of the regulars was Mickey.
He never ate much from one week to the next. Drink, that's as much as he did, from one bottle to the next.
It was mostly cider, but when funds were low, they had been known to drink meths, and lately he was drinking cider with Dettol.
Mickey came from Stoke Gifford, not far from Bristol, and he'd worked in various labouring and farming jobs. This is him 7 years ago at his sister's wedding. His parents had both died, as had his handicapped brother. Mickey lived with his sister for a time, but started drinking heavily, and soon afterwards left home. Because he stooped, he looked noticeably short and was known as Mickey Mouse, or Metal Mickey. He was only 33, but he seemed older.
Mickey was really a very ordinary sort of chap. Obviously his life had been blighted by alcohol. We'd known him for 5.5 years, and in that time we'd seen him deteriorate physically and obviously deteriorate. His trousers were always longer than his legs and under the heels of his shoes. Very shuffling gait. As his physical condition deteriorated, his walking became worse and worse.
Mickey was a nice, popular chap. I remember in particular when one night I was doing the night shelter, I'd lost my purse. And Mickey was the first chap to offer me 50p for my bus fare home in the morning. And thereafter, whenever I saw him, he would always give 20p, 30p, whatever change he had for our funds. He used to use our night shelter a couple of times a week, but more recently he tended to skip her. That means sleeping rough wherever you can find a place.
The Sunday before he died, it was quite obvious that he and the little group that he moved around with had been on quite a binge for several days. On the day he died, I'd gone over to the charity shop, sometime after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I noticed from the window that on the bit of waste ground there was a fire which was blazing, quite brightly, quite strongly.
Hey, you two, put that out. It's dangerous.
Mickey was lying on the ground. Shortly afterwards, another witness remembers seeing Mickey and talking to his friend.
Hey, darling. What, 10p for a cup of tea?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there you go.
You want a cigarette? Yeah. You got another cigarette for me, mate?
There you go.
Oh, God bless
right.
you, darling. Hey, Mickey. Got a ciggy for you.
Maybe Mickey left the fire. A social worker is convinced she spoke to him 10 minutes walk away.
I actually saw him as I was leaving about 4:30 as the day centre was closing, and we had a chat, and he was playing around with my lights, pretending to switch them on and off, and that was the last time I saw him.
Later, back in Picton Street, this witness, who'd known Mickey for 12 years, remembers seeing him lying dangerously close to the fire. There are several popular restaurants in this part of Montpelier. Did you pass through the area that night? A couple on their way to a meal recall hearing a muffled argument on the waste ground. The fire appeared to have gone out. Then at about 10:30, something unusual happened.
You a taxi? Yes. Have you got a radio?
Yes.
We'll phone the police quick. I want them 3 men arrested.
Who were they, and who was the woman?
They come down Abbey Road.
The driver only called the police the following morning. Shortly afterwards, the couple walked back from their meal.
Strange place to keep down for the night.
There was only one man now, and he was lying flat on his back. Next morning, Mickey was found dead, but now his body was on top of the remains of the fire. He'd been battered on the head. Later that morning, the police received an anonymous phone call.
Force Communications. Yes. Picton Street, yes.
The caller said he'd seen 2 men hurrying away from the waste ground at about 10:45 the previous night. The 2 are described as in their mid-20s, one about 5'10" tall, while the other was shorter and stockier. Police urgently need that caller and the men to contact them.
I feel very much it's a tragedy that we all share in. We're part of a society that pushes alcohol at people and then despises the folk who can't handle it. Mickey was that sort of person, and I would just be concerned that people don't think, oh, it's a tramp, it's a drunk, it's not important. It's very important.
Ray Sargentson, why would anyone do this?
Well, it's a wicked motorless murder. All I can think is somebody's done it for kicks. And this was a man who had nothing, caused no harm to anybody, and in spite of his lifestyle, certainly didn't deserve to die in the way that he did.
If it was young men out after pub closing time who went in for a bit of tramp bashing, as you suspect, that anonymous caller, who was obviously public spirit enough to recognise that he might have seen something important, he could be absolutely key to this investigation.
Well, I think he could well be the key, because from our other inquiries, we are fairly confident that he in fact saw the killers leaving the site.
Now, he rang you on the Thursday morning, that's the 12th of January. It's a long time ago, but you badly want to get in touch with him again now.
Yes, we do. He's a very public-spirited gentleman. He rang in, he's given us good information. We'd like him to be just a little bit more public-spirited and ring us with his name and address.
Now, what about those 3 men who were seen running away, the woman running after them? Were they involved?
Well, we don't know. We're very anxious to trace her as well. She's in the scene, very close to where the body was found. It's vital that we find her. She may well have seen the killers doing something to Mickey, or it may be innocuous. But until we've got rid of her, then we really do need to get hold of her and find out what she's got to say.
OK, so if that was you who called the taxi driver and said, please get the police, please ring us now, 01811 8055. Also, if it was you running away, frankly, I take it you're not interested in minor misdemeanours. This is a murder inquiry.
That's right. I mean, innocuous sort of highlarking, skylarking, mucking about. It's not of our interest. We're trying to trace the killers of Michael Fahy.
The taxi driver said there were a lot of people around that time on that night, 35 people maybe.
Yes, we've traced a lot of people, but clearly we've got a lot of unidentified people seen in the street by persons who have come forward, and I do anxiously urge anybody who's in the area, even if they feel they saw nothing, to come forward and help us.
OK, the date is Wednesday the 11th of January. The time is 10:30 to 11 p.m, around pub closing time. Here's the number if you were there, if you can help in any way, 01 811 8055. Or you can call the incident room direct, that's on 0272 267 992. That's 0272, the code for Bristol, 267 992.
And we're just hearing now that we've had a caller who's already actually rung twice to say that he or she knows who that man disguised as a fisherman with the gun is in the Manchester Securicor raid. And the officer in charge, Mr. Knupfer, is anxious that he calls again, he or she calls again. Please, we do need some more details on that. Some more news on last month's programme. We appealed for information on a man wanted in connection with a number of thefts of lorries and their loads. Not as a result of Crimewatch, but of a routine check on a car. A man has been arrested and charged with theft and deception. And again, not due to the programme, a man has been arrested in connection with several building society robberies in Essex and in Scotland. He's now been charged with 11 cases of robbery and 1 firearms offence.
2 weeks after our last programme, there was a hold-up at a building society in London's Regent Street. Members of the public pursued a man onto a passing bus, where an off-duty police officer arrested him. The man has since been charged with 19 cases of robbery and 18 firearms offences. These include a robbery that we showed on Photocall, where a smartly dressed man produced a gun at a building society branch in Harrow. The man in custody has now, in addition, been charged with murder.
And you might remember the 2 child-sized Porsches, a BMW and a Mercedes that were stolen. A viewer from Middlesex called during the programme to say that he'd recently bought 3 similar cars from a man who'd been posing as a salesman with a brochure illustrating the cars to prove it. The 3 cars were delivered that same night. It seems they were stolen to order. So 3 of the 4 cars have now been recovered. The search for the thieves goes on.
Now that was a case from last month's incident desk. This month, can you help to find up to £1 million worth of antiques stolen from George Washington's house? In Kent, the attempted kidnap of a 14-year-old girl as she did her paper round. An unusual golf club which could lead to 2 building society robbers. And the mechanical toys which walked away from a museum in Kidderminster. With the details, here's David Hatcher.
First, we hope these clothes may help my colleagues in Kent to identify the attacker of a young girl. At about 7 a.m. on the 10th of February, a 14-year-old girl was finishing her paper round in the village of Pluckley near Ashford. As she walked up the front path of a house in Forge Lane, a masked man leapt from behind a pile of logs and hit her repeatedly with a piece of wood. The logs had been deliberately arranged to form a hide. Luckily, a woman walking her dog nearby heard the girl's screams and pushed the attacker off. He ran back into Forge Lane, and we think he got into a small red van, similar to a Datsun or Astra. He's probably white, between 18 and 35 years old, and of athletic build. A major part of the investigation has been to trace the origins of these clothes which the attacker took off as he rang. These blue overalls were owned by British Rail until last year. They'd shrunk and were discarded. Where have they been since last October? Both this jumper with the lion and this black T-shirt had light-coloured paint spattered on them. This disposable lighter was found in the pocket of the overalls, and this spanner was found behind the logs, probably left behind by the attacker. Do you know who owns them? Thanks to the prompt action of the woman passing, the young girl wasn't seriously injured. But if the attacker hadn't been disturbed, we're certain the crime would have been even more serious. If you've any information, don't hesitate. Ring us now. Next, the burglary in Northamptonshire. This is Sulgrave Manor. It's open to the public and is the ancestral home of George Washington, the first American president. Sometime during the night of March the 30th, at least 2 thieves got into the house through an upstairs window using a ladder. These 18th century clocks are the 80 valuable antiques which they stole from the house. Also taken were the 17th century wassail bowl and this breeches Bible, which was leather-bound and dated from 1599. The antiques may have been taken away in these grey plastic bin liners because some were left behind. The total haul may be worth up to £1 million. If you've been offered these antiques or can help with any information, please call us now. Next, Bristol police need your help to find a rapist. He broke into a student's room in the Redland area of Bristol at about 4:15 on the morning of the 11th of March. Earlier that evening, the student had been helping to raise money for comic relief by calling in local pubs. She's helped to compile an artist's impression of her attacker, and he's described as of medium height, between 20 and 25, slim build, with short-cropped, mousy hair and exceptionally round eyes. The rapist stole the money she'd raised, £136, and also took an electric radio alarm clock which had a built-in portable radio cassette like this one. This particular gadget is quite unusual, as there are only 2 outlets for them in the southwest. A few hours before the attack, at about 12:45 a.m, a man was seen hanging around the nearby Old Bristol Maternity Hospital. He's of similar description to the attacker. At the moment, he's not been eliminated from the inquiry, and Bristol police urgently need to speak to him. So if you recognise him or know anything about this case, please give us a call now. Next, colleagues in Sussex need your help in catching 2 robbers. They raided the Abbey National Building Society in Hove, Sussex on the 20th of March. After holding the staff hostage, the robbers got away with £22,000 in cash, as well as American Express travellers' cheques and Abbey National blank cheques. They left in a blue Vauxhall Belmont car, the registration number D170WUF. That had been stolen 1 month earlier, on the 24th of February, from a car park in Newhaven. It was spotted 4 days later in New Street, Worthing, and was found after the robbery in Alice Street, Hove, about a mile from the Abbey National. Did you see it in the month in between? The robbers also stole some very expensive golf clubs like this one from the car's boot. They were made by the company Tailor Made and have a distinctive logo. The robbers left behind a number of items in the car, including these calculators, a pin hammer, and a parking ticket from Horsham Council. The raiders are in their mid-20s, both white and about 5'9" tall. One man has a spotty complexion and short black spiky hair. The other has mousy brown hair cut in a wedge style. If you know these men or recognise any of the items, please get in touch. Finally, the raid on a toy museum in Worcestershire. This struck me as really unusual. It's a peddler doll. All her wares, including her kettle, socks and ribbons, have been faithfully recreated. It's similar to one stolen during a burglary at the Hereford and Worcester County Museum at Hartlebury Castle near Kidderminster. Late on the evening of Tuesday the 4th of April, the museum was broken into, and an assortment of antique toys and porcelain figurines was taken. These are similar to the ones stolen. As well as the peddler doll, there were dolls made in the Victorian age, mechanical toys, and some charming Staffordshire porcelain. During the raid, one of the burglars cut his hand or forearm. Blood was found at the scene. And about 11 p.m. that night, a small white van was seen in the driveway of the castle. The reward being offered may help to get our peddler lady back. So if you've any information about this or the other incident desk cases tonight, please ring us now.
And a reminder of the number once again, it's 01 811 8055. 01 811 8055.
In the 3 or 4 months since Christmas, a lone gunman has been raiding railway stations south of London. He's made little money, but he's brought terror to people's lives, and there could be worse to come. He seems nervous and unpredictable, and his gun is loaded. Our reconstruction begins 3 days before Christmas. It's 6:25 in the evening at Thornton Heath.
That's 160, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How much is your platform ticket?
Where you been? We ain't done one then for years.
Glancing through the spy hole, she thought she saw the ticket collector.
Be quiet, get back, shut up. Now fill this.
I'm not gonna hurt you. Just lie down.
6 weeks later, this Golf GTI was stolen from St George's Square near Victoria Station. That's the main terminus for trains from Thornton Heath. 10 days later, and 4 a.m. at Tulse Hill Station. It's 3 miles from Thornton Heath. When detectives spoke to the station's staff, they confirmed that nothing had been stolen or tampered with. So what was the break-in for? 5 days on, Tuesday the 21st of February, 5:30 in the morning.
Stay quiet. Open the door. Quickly! Just stay quiet. Hurry up! Come on! Turn the alarm off! Now go and show me the safe.
The gunman seemed to know where everything was.
Don't want to do it for someone else's money, do you? Hurry up! Okay. Come on. Hurry up. Move it, come on! That's a lot! Over there! Quickly! Get in there. Sit down. Don't say a word. Call the police in an hour.
Just up the line from Tulse Hill and from Thornton Heath is Clapham Junction. It's 10 days since the Tulse Hill robbery. At 6:30 in the morning, staff arrived to start their shift at the Winstanley Road entrance.
See you later. Don't forget the milk.
As every day, the booking office clerk went across the road to collect his milk.
Yeah, 1 pint, please. Can I help you?
I'm all right, okay?
Where do you want to go?
I told you, I'm okay. Get in there! Shut up! Shut up! What are you doing? I said get down! No! Get down! No! Right, stupid old man! Come on! No! Yeah?
Down! Down!
It was the same red GTI that was stolen from near Victoria.
And that's where the GTI was dumped, a mile from Clapham Junction station. And obviously, it's a key point of appeal. John O'Donnell, it was stolen on the 6th of February from Pimlico, therefore it was missing for a month somewhere, presumably in South London.
And obviously being used by an armed robber somewhere in that area throughout that period.
There's the registration, ALY 552Y. If you saw that GTI between 6th of February and the 3rd of March, let us know. This is the gun.
Yeah, as you saw, obviously he's becoming more and more violent. This is the gun that was taken from him at Clapham Junction. You can see on here, on the stock, it's very, very heavily engraved. It's a Belgian gun, and it says "O Frankhoft" there. There's a very slapdash repairs taken place on the stock here, and again, somebody may know about that. Obviously, the gun has been sawn off at the end there, and the original owner probably won't know anything about that.
Our robber now has another gun, having lost this one.
He has, yes. This one, which was taken from him, in actual fact, we know was loaded, and obviously very nearly went off during the struggle. You saw the very violent struggle. As you say, unfortunately, our story doesn't end there. It's becoming more and more violent. We now know that last Wednesday night at Red Hill, a woman saw a man fitting the description of our armed robber get out of a red Astra at Red Hill Station just after 10 o'clock. Now, the registration number of that, she took part of it, which was C. She doesn't know the numbers, but certainly it was BLO. That was a red Astra, and as I say, it was the same description as our armed robber.
And there was an attack at Red Hill?
Yes, just about 10:15, the male and female booking clerk, they'd done their day's work, they were closing up the booking office, and as the woman opened the door to leave the office and secured it, she was bashed in the face by this armed robber. She fell backwards. They were both threatened by the same robber, same description, but this time he's got a black handgun, a revolver.
Now, the description is so surprising because he's always wearing this piece of sticky tape, this plaster on the bridge of his nose, and very, very thick pebble glasses. In fact, the video fit perhaps doesn't show because it's based on how thick the lenses appear to be, at any rate, in those glasses.
In each of the cases, the thick glasses and the sticky plaster on the nose. In fact, that's why the woman remembered him at Red Hill parking his car. It looked as though he'd got a white nose, in fact. He's becoming more and more violent. He's using increasing violence on these people, and what we're afraid of is that eventually he's going to either fire the weapon or injure them in some other way.
OK, well, that sticky plaster, of course, could be hiding some feature of his face. The glasses could be a disguise. But if you think you know who it is, please call us urgently. 01811 8055, 01811 8055. Remember, there's a reward in this case of £5,000 on conviction. You can call British Transport Police if you want on 01 380 1400. That's 01 380 1400.
Well, now back to Superintendent David Hatcher with another file of faces whom police would like to interview in connection with their inquiries.
First, do you recognise this man? His name is George Edward Bell, and my colleagues in Taunton, Somerset, believe he may have some vital information about a series of frauds from which nearly £1.7 million has been obtained. We know that between April 1986 and December 1988, Bell set up 4 companies, 3 in the West Midlands and a garage business in Taunton. He's described as 5 foot 10 inches tall, slim, with shoulder-length grey hair and a tattoo of a pigeon on his right arm. He sometimes calls himself John George Bell, and if you know his whereabouts, please ring us now. Next, this man is being sought by London's flying squad officers. He's seen here in November in the Nationwide Anglia Building Society in Haringey. The staff saw that he had a handgun tucked into his trouser waistband. He passed over a note demanding money, but the staff refused to give him any, and he left empty-handed. We think that the same man has committed 2 further armed robberies in London, the most recent on the 7th of February at a bank in Westbourne Grove. He looks about 35 years old. He's 5 foot 8 inches tall, with brown wavy hair and an Irish accent. So far, he's got away with over £2,000. Call us if you recognise him. Next, we'd like to speak to Anton Reardon about the murder of a man in West London. On the evening of the 4th of March, 28-year-old Ronnie Registe died of stab wounds to the neck. He'd been staying at Lavenden House on the Lisson Green estate in Paddington. Reardon is 30 years old, 5 foot 7 inches tall and stocky. He has light brown curly hair and a half-inch scar above each eye. If you know where he is, please get in touch. And finally, we'd like to talk to Alan Ross Doherty, who might have information about the theft of chequebooks and cards from university students in Oxford. Over the last 4 years, the total value of cheques stolen and fraudulently cashed has been over £20,000. In Lewisham, South London, as recently as a month ago, stolen cheques from an Oxford student were being used in a number of shops. Doherty is 5 foot 9 inches tall, stockily built, with brown eyes and thick black hair, going grey. He talks with a soft Scottish accent. If you've seen him or any of our photo call faces, please call us now.
And the number, of course, 01811 8055. That's 01811 8055.
And we're getting a lot of calls this evening. We've had some in particular of great interest. On the Southampton robber, the photo call case, we've had a large number of calls, all identifying this man. It's the one with, if you might remember, with the sweatshirt with life printed on the front. The officer in charge is particularly keen for one distressed caller to call again for more details. On the Michael Fahy murder, a woman has called claiming that it was she who flagged down the taxi, having seen those youths running away from the patch of waste ground where Michael Fahy's body was found. The officer in charge would very much like her to call again. We do need more details, and the call will be in confidence. Also, there's a caller who's rung giving the name and address of somebody who's been bragging that they know the full story behind Michael Fahy's murder. So we're hoping that we can get more details from that. We also had a call from somebody on a case from last month. That was the Middlesbrough jewellery robbery, where £26,000 worth of rings were stolen. Well, somebody has rung to say that they know something very important about that. We can't actually give you any more information at the moment. Suffice it to say that investigating officers are at the moment on their way to investigate that call. And as our calls continue to come in, we're going to be able to give you more news, I hope, in our update programme at 11:15 after question time. The lines here will be open until midnight, so if you haven't got through yet, please do keep trying. The numbers of the investigating police force headquarters are on CFAX, page 186, or you can write to us if you like at Crimewatch UK, BBC Television, London W12 7RJ. If you can't stay until our update tonight, there'll be an up-to-the-minute progress report tomorrow morning on open air at 11:40, and we'll see you next month on Crimewatch on Thursday, May the 11th.
It's perhaps ironic that we show you some of the most serious crimes each month and then end by saying don't have nightmares. But it's just because these cases are unusually serious that police especially need your help. Despite the news tonight, violent crime is still a much smaller risk than many of us imagine. So don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.